everyone, this is part 2 of the Mastery Tracker series. This is actually going to show you how to use the Mastery Tracker with assessments and with resources in the Mastery Connect community so that you can see how your students are doing and whether they're mastering the content in your curriculum. If you haven't watched part 1 about how to get to this point on your screen, please go back and do that. Part 1 is in the tutorial playlist on our YouTube channel. So please definitely go back and check that out. So we're going to start with our assessments. You can either click the Add Assessment button or you can scroll over an individual standard and click Assess. They'll take you to the same place. When you click that button, it's going to ask you to add an assessment, and you can search the community for an assessment. There are thousands of educators all over the world and quite a few in Wake County that are making assessments all the time, so you can pick from them. You can create assessments yourself. There's another video in the tutorial playlist about Score 21 about how to create quick assessments using the old Case 21 item banks. You can create an assessment from scratch, or you can enter raw scores from assessments that you gave on paper and pencil completely separate from the Mastery Connect database. I'm going to be making tutorials in the future about how to create assessments from scratch and how to enter raw scores from paper pencil assessments outside the Mastery Connect database, but I have not done that yet so far. So the first thing we're going to do is be selecting from my assessments. Because for this particular standard, I did create a pre-assessment using the Score 21 databank. And all you have to do is when you've created an assessment for a particular standard, all you do is click Add to Tracker, and you select the classes that you want it to be applied to, and you click Add to Selected, and that's it. Now there are a couple of things that you can do with this. Once you've added something to your tracker, it automatically takes you to the screen as though you're ready to begin that assessment immediately. So you can assess the students online, which is what this screen is. I'm going to assume that most of you are going to continue doing paper pencil assessment. If you want to assess the students online, go on up here to the help box and click on assessments in the help category, and it'll explain to you the process to go through that for. When you get ready to do the water pre-assessment, you'll get ready to print the bubble sheet. There it is. And one of the nice things, and I'm going to click download just so that you can see it, is that, like I said, it will put the student's name in there and it will bubble their student ID. Obviously our student IDs are a little bit longer. It'll put the teacher name, and it will also only print out the exact number of bubbles that the student needs. You can also print out the assessment, a little print button here. And if you're not familiar with how to print out assessments on Mastery Connect, it looks a little weird on the screen, but when you get ready to print it out, there's no tabbing, there's no entering. It's not going to cut off questions or images in the middle of a page, so it does come ready to print out automatically. And then you're ready to assess. One of the things that you'll see here is that for each standard, it has a total number of points available for that standard, a mastery point, and a near mastery point. So there's 7 points available for this standard. The mastery points number is 6, and the near mastery points number is 5. And in this case, I just made it the same for each standard because there's only 28 questions. When students have completed the test, if you used the Mastery Connect bubble sheets, you'll have the camera turn on, and if you're using your teacher laptop, you'll simply hold the bubble sheet up to your camera and it will automatically scan the grade. It will determine their mastery score, and it will determine their score for the test, and you'll actually be able to export those scores into a simple spreadsheet or record them in your gradebook, or however you want to do that to get them into PowerSchool or something like that. At this time, it does not export directly to PowerSchool. I wish it did, because that would certainly decrease the time. It's something that I'm asking academics about to see if we can get that capability, since they seem to be able to get the students to come in. I'm trying to see if we can find a way to get the grades to go out but it is a work in progress. But aside from that, it's a very nice way to be able to assess students very quickly. So that's the assessment dashboard, very quick. I'm also going to show you how to get an assessment in from the community, but it works very much the same way as the assessment that I created. You'll notice that when you put an assessment into your tracker, it does appear as an assessment in your tracker. And you'll notice that up here, you now have one assessment on this particular standard. And it appears up here as a little 1 next to a little piece of paper with some lines on it. So now I want to add another assessment, and I'm going to look for something that assesses these standards, just another little pre-assessment. So I'm going to search the community. Let's see. I want something in my district. And I want something that assesses this standard. I don't think it listened to me. Nope, it didn't. So I'm going to go back because it did not pay attention to what I wanted it to do. And I'm going to try the other way to go get an assessment. Aha. All right, this one looks good. Now I don't want something tremendously large. It assesses all those chemistry standards that I want. So I'm going to click here to preview the test. And it has 20 questions. That looks perfect for a pretest. So I'm going to add it to Tracker. And again, it just adds it and it takes me immediately to the dashboard. If you're not ready to assess right away, you just go back to your tracker. And there it is again. It's ready to assess it again. It's on my tracker. It shows me how many assessments I have for this particular standard. And that is that. So it's a fairly simple thing to find. It's a fairly simple thing to add assessments. You can add as many assessments of different standards as you want. You can actually also find, if I wanted to, for example, let's see, it's not playing nice with me right now. If I wanted to find an assessment just on that particular standard, I see they have a benchmark here. I can find things that are just from there, but you can see that there are assessments. I see we've got practice EOG questions from the entire curriculum. Mr. Besner made an assessment. Looks like it was a practice for him to learn how to use the system because it only had 5 questions. But you can search for things that are single standard, you can search for things that are multi-standard, so there's a lot of different options that you have in searching for assessments that assess different standards, multi-standards, or single standards. All right. One of the other options that you have, let's say for instance you assessed a standard in a offline quiz, natural resources quiz. It had 20 questions. The mastery score was 17. The intermastery score was 15. I'm going to add that to Tracker. And I want to add an additional and then I can enter in the scores for the students right there. I can also add other standards, for example, well, shoot. Where did it go? It disappeared. That's interesting. Yep, there it is. Hello. That was confusing. That was not what that was supposed to do, but okay. So you can manually enter in the scores for a particular standard right there. Okie dokie. So that's how you can use assessments to fill in your mastery tracker. If you're looking for particular resources, oops, you can go to the pin board, which is kind of like Pinterest, in all honesty. And you can search for a particular subject. It pulls up your standards document. I'm going to look for 8th grade. It starts looking for standards. No pins found on that particular one. Bummer. Nothing found on the hydrosphere. See, it's hard to find stuff. So I'm just going to say all. Not a whole lot found for 8th grade science. I'm just going to say all, see what it pulls up for science in general. And there's stuff that needs to be added all the time. So you can always add resource pins. So if you find something, you're always welcome to add things. And then as you add pins, you can save pins and then track them onto your mastery tracker so that you can use those resources to help you as you need things. So if, for example, if you need to present something in a different way, you can use your resource pins to do that. So this is the end of the part 2 for the mastery tracker. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you learned a little bit more about how to use your mastery tracker and use assessments to determine whether your students are mastering the content in your curriculum. If you have questions, I hope we will see you on Techie Tuesday. Thanks. Bye.